Why is it doing this? It's muted. Now it's unmuted. Do you really want me on both microphones?
Yeah, just one of the houses. So.
Yeah, but if I mute. Audio settings.
Leave.
Where is that?
It's the second one.
City Council. Today's date is April 6, 2022, 2023. Wow, we're reviving for the last year. Today, we're going to hear an overview of the spring budget monitoring process, commonly called the spring bump, which is one of three major budgeting processes that the city undertakes each year. The spring bump is historically comprised of true-ups using small amounts of funds that remain within the current fiscal year budget. This process happens simultaneously to the work we're doing on our full budget for the coming fiscal year, which Council will vote on in a number of weeks. As such, the funding available for the spring bump is reserved for relatively small programmatic changes, and it must be committed by the end of the fiscal year, which, by the way, is June 30th. Council will vote on this spring bump package next Wednesday, April 12th. In my spring bump guidance to bureaus, I made a number of directions. I directed that requests for carryovers be limited to known, currently funded, one-time projects that would not be completed by the end of the fiscal year. I further directed that bureaus would withhold requests for additional contingency resources for new or existing programs and reserve those requests for their fiscal year 23-24 budget requests. Bureaus could request compensation set aside to end the year within budget and for those who incurred higher than anticipated personnel costs and do not have existing savings and underspending to balance their budget. Because we have yet to balance the fiscal year 23-24 budget, any new set-aside requests within the spring bump will result in a reduction in funding for priorities in the proposed budget for the next fiscal year. Compensation, policy, and other set-aside balances will be processed as part of the fiscal year 23-24 proposed budget. I want to thank the Budget Office for their work and briefing each of the commissioners in turn on this process, as well as the resulting package. This work session will mirror the briefings that you've already had, colleagues, providing highlights of the bump as filed, as well as providing an opportunity for the council to ask additional questions. I'd like to welcome Director Tim Grew and Budget Analyst Robert Cheney from the City Budget Office to provide an overview of the spring bump and to walk us through my proposed package. Welcome, Director Grew, and Robert, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Today we want to cover, as the Mayor said, some of the highlights of the bump. We're going to talk about the non-general fund notable changes. We're going to talk about position authority changes. We're going to talk about the general fund contingency review, and then the Mayor's proposals for the bump. And just to refresh and maybe go into a little bit more detail on the spring bump supplemental budget, the bump is intended to focus on ending the year in balance. And we do that through a variety of actions in the spring bump. Bureaus can request carryover for unspent programmatic funding one time. That's going to continue into the next fiscal year. They can make tactical adjustments, such as moving money from materials and services to other areas where they're experiencing over expenditures. They can request compensation set aside and we make transfers and compensation set aside if they're unable to absorb the salary increases with savings that they already have in their budget. And they also recognize ongoing resources, new resources that might, not new resources, but additional resources that are in their budget. Additionally, the general fund contingency resources may be appropriated for very urgent requirements that need to be resolved before the end of the year and to prevent year-end overspending. The compensation set-aside requests to cover current year personal costs that cannot be covered with existing appropriations is one of the primary focuses of the bump. We also request general fund backed labor costs. If there's been a labor settlement, we adjust that in the bump. We also have general fund program carryover requests that continue one-time funds from the current fiscal year to the next fiscal year, and then new requests on a one-time basis that are not requests that are not currently in the budget. next slide. Are we up? No, we're not. Sorry about this. I didn't realize we weren't on the screen. Oh, we are behind me. Okay, thanks. This chart shows where we stand currently in the process. April 6th is what we're doing today, the work session, and an ordinance has been filed for your consideration on April 12th. I want to start with some of the primary recommendations that have been made for non-general fund changes. And the reason for that is sometimes when we get a lot of questions, they're focused on the general fund, and we just want to make sure we get to the non-general fund organizations. The Bureau of Environmental Services submitted a budget package reducing contingency in the sewer system operating fund by $4.1 million to bridge the funding gap for the acquisition of property, supporting efforts to replace the Tryon Creek wastewater treatment plant, which was partially offset by $1.9 million from PBOT in a cooperative work agreement underspending. The Portland Fire Bureau is appropriating $2 million from the Fire Capital Fund, and because it's the fund, we're covering that here, contingency for purchase of an aerial tiller, which would typically be funded out of their annual general fund operating budget, but by taking it out of their capital set aside, it allows them to free up appropriation to cover overtime expenditures.
Can I ask a quick question here?
Sure, yes, sir.
What's an aerial tiller?
It's a form of apparatus truck,
Okay.
and again, each year they appropriate and make purchases for apparatus that are in need of replacement.
Okay, thank you.
Chief, is this our EV?
No.
Oh.
Did I cover that adequately?
Yeah. Yep.
Risk management, which is part of the Office of Management and Finance, is requesting to draw $2.5 million from the Insurance and Claims Fund contingency to cover claims payments projected to occur prior to the end of the year. And similarly, the Workers' Compensation Program, also part of the Office of Management and Finance, has requested a draw of $1.1 million from its contingency to cover higher claims payments expected for the remainder of the year. PBOT requested $1 million in Transportation Operating Fund contingency. This includes allocations of $410,000 to pay for IBM Maximo audit costs that came up mid-year, $150,000 for lighting repairs at 9 public plazas, which will improve safety, livability, and usefulness of the plaza, and $1.2 million for PBOT snow response work that has occurred during the year, and $40,000 for the Chimney Rock cobblestone transfer from 2022.
Can I ask a quick clarifying question?
Yes.
Do you have any insight into why workers' comp is more expensive than we anticipated? Is there something systemic going on?
I think it's just a matter of the staff is here to give a better, more detailed information. I think it's just a matter of the claims that they've been receiving.
Okay.
Okay. I can't give you any
All
specifics
right,
on what those claims are.
that's fine.
Is there anybody else that has any information?
Okay, well, maybe you can just follow up. I'd be
All
curious.
right, we'll get back to you on that.
Before
I
doing
heard
this.
somebody mention something some number of weeks ago about an aging workforce.
Okay.
Demographically, we're changing.
Yeah, and that would make sense. You'd have more claims potentially.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Also on the non-general fund changes, the Bureau of Technology Services included $266,000 cash transfers from the Facilities Fund to the Technology Services Fund for savings returned to the bureaus associated with the closeout of the Portland Building Reconstruction Project. And the Portland Clean Energy Community Benefits Fund requests to draw $8.4 million from its fund contingency for 3 purposes. $8 million for Phase 1 of the Housing Bureau Regulated Affordable Housing Program, $210,000 to the Portland Parks and Recreation to implement the Equitable Tree Canopy Program, and $73,000 for Procurement Division to fund procurement buyers for the remainder of the year. This is staff that are helping them implement their programs, and they're also paying for the procurement staff to do that. PCEF revenues continue to outpace projections. Year-end projections provided by the Bureau recently show $120 million in tax revenue, which is $30 million more than budgeted.
Again, just a quick clarifying question. Can you provide more context on the procurement piece of the Clean Energy Fund? I think it's not intuitively obvious.
They've
to me what's
had
that.
assigned procurement personnel to assist them in implementing their programs.
So is that like people to help buy air conditioners? Are we buying air conditioners or are we buying land?
I'm assuming that they're doing some form of contracts, service contracts. It could be other things as well. Any specifics back here?
Okay,
That's what you're working
thank you.
on. Okay. In terms of positions that have been added or recommended to be added within the bump, there's 13 permanent FTE in the Portland Fire Bureau, Fire and Rescue Bureau, which are going to be used to assign trainees as they go through the year, and which will also help them in managing their overtime expenditures. 5 permanent FTE positions in Portland Parks and Recreation are being added for the Equitable Tree Canopy Program, and again, that's funded by PCEF. And then the 2 permanent Office Management and Budget Procurement Division staff that we were just talking about have been added as well. In terms of current year monitoring, citywide position vacancies, deploying new and/or large programming, supply chain issues, and typical capital projects, delays are driving increased spending for almost every bureau. General fund bureaus requested $49.3 million in program carryover. Portland Fire and Rescue continues to manage soaring overtime expenses. And the City Administrator's Office, OMF, is realizing significant underspending, $2.7 million, of its general fund allocation, partly due to not hiring limited-term night shift positions for the 311 program, and late in the year hiring of ongoing positions for the program expanded operating hours. So in terms of changes to the general fund contingency, the proposed spring bump results in general fund contingency totaling $65.3 million. $1.4 million remains in the unrestricted contingency. $8.7 million remains in the compensation set aside. $44.3 million for the general fund carryovers, which will be added to the FY24 budget, and $10.8 million in policy set-aside accounts. There's been $0 million left in the capital set-aside. I'm going to stop there and answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to get some more details from Robert. Any questions? Robert?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. Robert Cheney, the bump coordinator for the City Budget Office. What we're going to do now is walk through the decision packages that were submitted. I'm not going to go necessarily line by line on each single one, but if you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt. We have folks, both CBO analysts and Bureau staff, who can chat more about it. First things first, compensation set aside. Because of the 5% COLA at the beginning of the year, compensation set aside sat at about $18.7 million. That set aside is typically reserved for bureaus who can demonstrate they were at full staffing for the entire year and cannot absorb the current year costs of that COLA. This year, we did see 5 bureaus request those resources, totaling $14.7 million across all bureaus. CBO recommended against the OMF and Parks and Recreations ones, and the mayor's proposed budget adopted those recommendations. For OMF, we saw that they had underspending, as noted in the previous couple slides, about the 311 program having some underspending. So they will be balancing the costs of personnel costs in the current year with that. The Fire Bureau, with its overtime issue, did get recommended and requested and did have included in the proposed their full allocation that they're eligible for from the compensation set aside, and that's going straight to overtime. Portland Parks and Recreation, that number is not, that is not included in the spring bump because they were not at close to full staffing for the entire year. And then Portland Police Bureau requested 6.5 against a total potential request of 7.2. We revised it down to 4.9 million, and that is what was included in the mayor's proposed filing. Are there any questions on those?
Yeah, could we have some more context on the PPB, both requested and the proposed? So
Yeah.
they could have requested 7.2, they did request 6.5, and I think the mayor's proposing 4.9.
Absolutely.
What's the sort of logic and math behind getting from 7.2 to 4.9?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
it's voice act.
Shannon Fairchild, City Budget Office. Thanks for the question.
sure.
So we recommended 4.9, which provides about a $1.3 million cushion if all the PPP carryovers are included in the proposed. So really the difference between the two, between what's PPP requested and what the recommendation is a difference of how much of a cushion they need. And so that's really what's driving the difference. They are running pretty hot on personnel. And so normally in the last couple of years, they've utilized underspending in EMS.
Yep.
That underspending is not available this year. And so this is why there's a request for comp set aside where there hasn't been in the past few years.
So the budget office and the commissioners in charge is fairly confident that the Bureau can get through the end of the fiscal year with 4.9? So that's the
Yeah,
takeaway?
we've worked with PBB. They're fairly confident. We can also point to the OEO as an opportunity as well.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else?
I had a follow-up question on PPV. What does that translate in terms of number of hires, just roughly speaking? What's the authorized number that is equivalent
Oh,
of the
so-
4.9?
It doesn't translate to, it doesn't affect position authority at all.
It doesn't map, okay.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Shannon. I think we can move on to the next slide, which was request for policy set aside. Policy set aside is, it exists within general fund contingency, but it's restricted to items that the council has set aside resources for. You'll notice there was a recommended total and a proposed total. We did recommend, and the mayor proposed, that all of the existing policy set aside requests be funded. For Portland Parks and Recreation, there were a number of labor contracts, LIUNA and PTE, where those contracts were ratified in the current year after budget development. So in those instances, what we typically do is we'll do the costing analysis is done, and then the general fund backed portion of those costs are added in every bureau's ongoing current appropriation level. For the current year costs, especially with instances like parks where there's retroactive COLAs, the spring bump is set aside, or is the process to request those resources. Those costs are real, they're concrete, we know that they're happening, and that set aside was created specifically for those costs. So we felt comfortable in recommending those, and those are included. We also did the same thing for council transition costs. As we know, commissioners join the year on the calendar year, which is the middle of the fiscal year, and sometimes it just takes money to turn those offices over. In the past, typically, there'd just be any underspending in a given year for a commissioner would just go to the next commissioner. Last year, or I believe in the fall, we set aside $500,000 to make sure that when a commissioner moves into City Hall, they have what they need, and that was drawn down for that cause. And then the first two items, which were added by included in the mayor's office's proposal, but not requested by bureaus, was what's become a pretty common, somewhat clerical appropriation, which is putting $30,000 into a fund with an FPDNR to fund the remaining pension of a widowed spouse from a former police chief who, as part of the agreement, we cannot use FPDNR levy resources to fund that. So we fund that out of the general fund. And then there is a policy set aside, it's actually an ongoing allocation for Beacon. And the mayor's office, working with Beacon, which exists, it's a program at the county, did draw down that set aside by $335,000. Again, that's for current year costs expected to hit before June 30th. Any questions on the policy set aside?
Just as a clarification also on Beacon, that's our portion, the county also funds that, so that's a partnership.
Yeah, that's correct.
Do we know the status of, Beacon's not open yet, are they? Or I'd love to get a briefing on where we are with Beacon. I think we don't have to do it
Yeah,
here.
the one sentence answer right now is we're temporarily funding 6 beds at the Unity Center, but the actual Beacon model is not yet up and operational.
Okay, thank you.
Great. If there's no more questions on policy set aside, we can jump ahead to the general fund program carryovers, another big part of the spring bump. General fund program carryovers are typically, as Director Grew talked about, our parameters for analyzing those are pretty straightforward. Council authorized a one-time program with one-time resources, and if a bureau is unable to do that within a given fiscal year, they request that those resources be deappropriated from the current year, FY 22-23, and then they get added to the following fiscal year so that the Bureau has the appropriation to expend against on July 1. Because we've had pretty big appropriations in the recent fall bumps, there's $49 million in requests for these. CBO found in our analysis that many of them met the basic parameters for what a program carryover is. And there were a few that we'll talk about on the next slide that didn't meet those parameters, but generally speaking, all of those program carryovers are included in the proposed and should be there for bureaus to continue those programs on July 1. The next slide is the ones that were submitted and not included. To say that these were recommended against, I think needs to be unpacked. Typically, because something was recommended against doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad policy proposal or is a bad program. What we see here, this suite of packages, most of them just did not meet the parameters of council authorized a one-time program, and therefore you get to, bureaus would need that money on July 1. What we have here is a lot of bureaus, they did their own fund projections for year end, and they noticed that they were going to have some underspending, and they effectively requested that instead of that underspending falling to balance in Fund 100, the general fund by year end, that we deappropriate it from the current year and add it to their next year budget. We can't get into the details of every single program that they've proposed with this, but there are some decent proposals, but we recommended, and the mayor did not include those. You'll see carryover salary savings, OEHR again, or the equity office again, carryover of salary savings. And again, these were just programs, these are just requests to either reprogram or otherwise spend that resource on something else. CBO standing on the principle that any programs, any sort of proposal like this should be done as part of the annual budget development with council, with more robust analysis done. So that's why these are not included. Are there any questions on those? Hearing none, we can move forward to the next slide, which was requests for new general fund resources. As the mayor and director group pointed out, the mayor's guidance did not permit for any new general fund requests, nor was there sufficient resource in general fund unrestricted contingency to fund requests. So what we see here, the Bureau of Transportation, PBOT, requested resource for downtown street lighting and replacement. of which they do have an ongoing general fund allocation. $100,000, just over that, for entertainment district permit fees. Those are for 26 weekends a year in Chinatown, Old Town. There's road closures and floodlights. Those fees, it's my understanding, if you have questions about this, we have our analysts on board. Those are subsidized by the general fund currently. And then again, O'Brien Square, the Bureau is actually bringing a contract to council on the 12th, same day that we're hearing the spring bump, demonstrating that the cost of demolishing the garage at O'Brien Square is going to cost a little bit more than they have budgeted for. And then lastly, the evaluation of expiring TIF districts, not included. There's precedent for the auditor doing this work, but it's not included currently.
If I may,
Yeah.
I'd like to jump in here, and I'm not even going to put it in the form of a question. I'd like to just address my colleagues on council about two of these items that come out of my bureau's PBOT. I'm disappointed. I understand that we face significant financial constraints at the end of the year. It's certainly time for the city to exercise fiscal discipline. At the same time, and I respect the mayor's proposal here not to fund the downtown lighting and maintenance replacement fund and the entertainment district and permit fees. But I do hope that my colleagues on council at least understand what these two programs do. The 1.1 million for downtown lighting, maintenance, and replacement. This is basically, street lights downtown. We all want to do what we can to make downtown safer and more enticing, and certainly having adequate lighting is really important for this. So it's unfortunate that we are not able to do this work. Also on the PBOT side, you'll notice the 106,000 for entertainment district permit fees. Now, this fund goes to offset the cost of permits in Old Town, Chinatown. If you ever go down on a weekend and you have streets that are shut off, it's basically paying for the permits that allow us to do that. Here's one of the reasons why that's important. It's really about crowd management and people management downtown. It really makes our Old Town, Chinatown spaces safer, especially on the weekends. If you go down on a weekend night, you'll notice it's actually quite lively. If you also, frankly, take a look at our homicide numbers in Old Town, Chinatown, in recent months and weeks, they've gotten much better. One of the reasons why they've gotten much better is we've been cutting off certain streets. One of the drivers of homicides in Old Town, Chinatown are literally drive-bys in front of bars. So you have people lined up in front of bars, and if you can drive your car by them, that's when we were seeing people get shot. By virtue of blocking off cars from going down some of these streets, where I think we were able to kind of stem that dynamic. So I think that was a good policy, and I know we need to make some tough choices. And should we go in this direction, I'll do what I can do to figure out how to keep good policies going, but fiscal discipline comes with some trade-offs and tough choices here, and these are two that give me a little bit of pause, but at the same time, I understand the underlying dynamic. Thank you, and I'll hand the floor back to staff.
Thank you, Commissioner. If there's no questions on the new general fund requests, we can move on to the next slide. The cannabis fund carryovers. Cannabis fund, we treat very similarly to the general fund. It is filled with what you could characterize as semi-discretionary resource, with the policies that bind those resources highlighted at the bottom of this slide. We also process our carryovers for this very similarly to the general fund, which if a bureau received one-time cannabis fund resource, and it's going to fall to balance at the end of the year, instead of waiting until the fall bump to let it fall to balance and reappropriate it, we do it as part of the spring bump so that the Bureau can begin spending that on July 1. These all met our criteria for recommendation, and they're all included in the mayor's proposed as well. Are there any questions?
Yeah, can you remind me what the 1 million for reallocation for, what the reallocation or Reimagine Oregon allocations pay for?
I do not have the details on that currently. We could get back to you on that.
I can't answer your question, but I was just briefed by Prosper just this morning that they are making really good progress and will have something to present, I think in May to us, but we can ask for them to brief you.
Okay, I'd appreciate a briefing on that. I'm not clear on how these dollars are allocated, in other words, what services we're supposed to get in exchange for these dollars. And I think this is not the first time I've seen a carryover in this space, and I also frankly don't understand why these dollars aren't actually getting out in the community. Thank you.
Yes, we can definitely get back to you on that. Our analyst in charge of Civic Life is currently out of the office. With that, that is all of the packages, the non-technical packages that we are spotlighting for you today. We can have a further discussion about these, which is what we've allocated the time for, or if there's any other parts of the presentation you'd like to revisit.
I just had one follow-up question on Reimagine, and maybe as much for Commissioner Rubio, we can take it offline. But is your understanding that this is tied to the economic planning that Prosper Portland is going through, or is it a separate deliverable?
I'm sorry?
For Reimagine Oregon, those two line items, was that tied to the new economic planning that Prosper Portland's doing, or is it? a
No, we
separate
just recently took it on from OMF, so we're starting to work with them.
Got it.
But I don't know enough to answer your question, but we can make sure that.
We'll get back
yeah.
to you with more detailed information before the ordinance next week.
Great. Okay, appreciate it, thank you.
I'm keeping a list of things we owe you. Well, that's the end of our presentation. And again, an ordinance has been filed and will be coming forward to you for consideration next week. And unless there's members of the Bureau directors that would like to have anything to say, we've completed our presentation.
Great, and I think this leaves some follow-up and discussion amongst the council offices, but great presentation, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.
Thanks, Commissioners.
Recording stopped.